Something I don't think a lot of people take advantage of on their homesteads and in their gardens is seed saving. So it is fall here, and this is normally the time where you see all these flowers, all of your vegetables start to die off, start to turn brown. You end up digging them up or letting them compost, and that's that. But instead, here on our homestead, this is an exciting harvesting season, just like when we're in our peak season of harvesting tomatoes, cucumbers, all those good vegetables. This is another thing I get super excited for because it will turn into next year's harvest, and it is super exciting and rewarding to save seeds, not have to buy them in the spring for next year, and know that the vegetables and the plants and the flowers that you grow next year all came from your garden this year. So I'm going to show you how to seed save. I'm going to show you some different flowers, some vegetables, how to store them, and let's get right into it. As you can tell, our flower garden here is starting to die off, turn brown, and is completely overrun by weeds because, well, I didn't read the second half of the season. So this is what she's looking like. But in here we have zinnias, we have some cosmos, we have snapdragons, we have lots of dahlias, and all of this here we have loads and loads of amaranth, two different types of varieties that actually just reseeded itself from last year. So I already took some of those seeds. I might show you how to do that today too, but we're going to start with the flowers and then we will end with the vegetables. Zinnias are probably my favorite flower or thing in general to seed save from because they're so easy and they're just so beautiful and they come up so easily every spring. So what I'm looking for when I am seed saving, you can see I have some really pretty ones still, but I also have these ones that are completely died off, and this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for crispy leaves all the way down, and this one is almost there, so I'm going to actually leave that. So this one is the perfect one to seed save from, and we will show you why. So here is that zinnia head, and I'm going to show you how to seed save with this one specifically. Again, the leaves are completely dry to the touch, and the thing I love about zinnias is all you're going to do is take your fingers at the base of those petals, pull out, and all of those right here are all seeds. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these inside, just the heads, and when we get in there, we'll remove the petals from the seeds. And once these are completely dried out, we'll store them like any other seeds. So let's go through and grab some of our favorites. That's the reason why I really love seed saving too, is because you are able to take your favorite varieties of things and just grow them next year without having to buy the seeds again. So this year I'm going to be taking my favorite zinnias, and I'll have those favorite zinnias filling my garden next year, and then next year I'll seed save the favorites from those, and eventually I will just have my favorite looking zinnias for years and years to come. Now I have one of my favorite zinnias right here. I will cut one off so you can see just how beautiful they are. I love the variation in the pinks and the oranges, and I just love this color. However, a lot of these aren't quite ready yet. So what I'm going to do is when I'm seed saving these, I also like to put these on. And this kind of marks the ones that I really, really like, because once they die off, you can't really tell what they are. So what I'm going to do is pick a really nice big one. And this one's really nice. And I'm just gonna tie this around. I'll put these little bags in the description below in case you want some. But what I'll be able to do is then come out in a few weeks, probably when these completely die off, and I'll be able to just take this, and any seeds that fall too during that time will just be held in the bag. So I'll have all the seeds from this one flower. So I'm going to actually do that to a couple of these because these are my favorite, and maybe even to these pretty orange ones right here because those ones are super vibrant too. We are moving over to the cosmos here, and again, some of them are still flowering and other ones are ready to harvest the seeds. Cosmos are also very easy because the petals essentially just like turn into the seeds. So let me snap this one off to show you. Let me get my snips here. And you can see how those petals just turn into the seeds here, and you can just very easily take them off, and now you have a bunch of cosmos seeds for next year. So I'm going to go ahead and grab all of these ones that are, again, they look dead, they're pretty dry and crispy, and you're going to take them off, and we'll actually put these, because they're really small, into one of those little bags I have, and we'll harvest those ones this way. You can also use these bags for these as well. Just put them over the flour and then let the seeds kind of fall into the bag. So you can use that with pretty much, I shouldn't say any flour, but a lot of flour you can do that way. Now, I'm not going to be seed saving any of this amaranth today because it just spreads like crazy. It's almost like invasive in my flower garden, so I'm not nervous about not having any of it pop back up next year. But if you do want to save it, you can take some of these. Again, you want them to be not like super nice and in bloom still. You want them to be past their bloom and starting to wilt, and you'll find the seeds in the little pods in here. So if you just kind of run it through your fingers, little black seeds will start to like pop out of there. They're super tiny but super powerful, obviously. So you can do it this way, or you can even just take one of these will produce thousands of seeds for you. So this would be tons and tons of seeds. This is like all you would ever need. Go inside, hang these upside down to dry, and once it's completely dry and crisp, just kind of smack it on your table and all of the seeds will start to fall out of there. So that's how you do amaranth, but proceed with caution because you will be having them come out your eyeballs if you keep planting them because they reseed like crazy. Moving on to a flower that not a lot of people think to seed save is dahlias, and that's because they grow by tuber, but you can also start them by the seed, which will then sprout a flower and produce a tuber in the next season. So for these, also very simple, just a little harder to plant, is you are going to take the dead flower bud and you're going to open them up, and inside, again, you can kind of let the petals fly away in the wind. On the inside of those petals are going to be these little seeds. So you can then go ahead and store those for next season as well. The only thing with dahlias is you're going to want to make sure that you start them inside because they do need a little bit longer time and a little extra care to grow from seed, unlike the tubers. So I'll be saving some of my favorite seeds to try again next year. It's more of a project because we already have tons of tubers that I'm going to dig up this year. But take your favorites, try it out. It's a lot of fun, and again, it's super rewarding to grow your own dahlias from seed and have them turn into tubers, which will then produce more tubers and more tubers, and they're a great thing to give away to friends, family, or just completely start to grow a huge, huge garden. This one is a beautiful floret flower. I grew this one from seed 2 years ago and planted the tuber last year, and just look how pretty that is. It's an open face dahlia. So I'm going to save some more seeds and see if I can see what happens next. This is another beautiful open face floret flower that I will be trying to start too. I can't remember what variety it was, but they're so pretty. They're like peaches and creams and all these pastel beautiful colors. So if you want to try and buy their seeds too, I highly recommend that. Still saving lots of flowers for the pollinators this season. I always try and keep them going as long as possible, and then when everything completely dies off and the pollinators are no longer on them anymore, then I will dig up the tubers. Now that we are done with our flowers, let's switch over to some vegetables. There are multiple vegetables that I seed save from. One of them is okra, which is right here. And okra is a really easy one. Really, with all seed saving, it's just figuring out which vegetable is worth seed saving, first of all, and where their seeds are and how to keep them good for the next year. So with okra, I will show you. I'm just going to cut into this. And the seeds are right in this middle here. They're nice, plump seeds. Now this one isn't dried out, so what I can do is you can either wait for it to dry out on the plant, then come out here and harvest it, or you can harvest these kind and take out all the seeds and just let them dry out inside. So I can also take these inside and set them on some like paper towel or something like that to let them sit out and dry. I'll usually let mine sit for a few days until they're pretty crisp, and then just store them in a seed saving envelope or a jar. Just make sure you label them, and that's how you can do vegetables too. So I'm going to take this inside. Also right here is another flower. I plant marigolds on the outside of all of our vegetables, and so marigolds are probably one of the easiest things to seed save. Dead flower, just pull it off. These are all marigolds, and there's so many seeds in one head. You'll find that one, whether it's a vegetable or a flower, one fruit will produce like, some of them will produce hundreds of seeds, some of them will produce, dozens. So it doesn't take much to seed save for all of next year's garden, depending on how big your garden is. Another thing I have over here, some peppers. These ones are kind of got frosted, so I will not be eating these, so I will show you how to also seed save these, but I'll probably end up just feeding these to the chickens. So what you're going to do is, of course, the seeds are inside the pepper. You're going to harvest these just like you would the okra. Take them inside, harvest them all, let them sit out flat on like a paper towel, let them completely dry out, and then store them someplace dry for next season. Again, label them. All your peppers start green, but I know that these were supposed to turn yellow because I only planted yellow bell peppers this year, so I'll just have to make sure that I label this yellow bell pepper. I keep forgetting about some of our flowers just because I don't think about them and they're so easy to do, but sunflowers are another super easy one to do. And you'll see I just let them completely dry on here. I actually just let them reseed themselves in this spot, but you let them dry out and all of those seeds are inside here. And sunflowers, I'm just gonna go like this with my thumb and they'll come right out. With these sunflowers, they will come back so nice in the next coming year. So I just like to spread them on the ground like this in the fall, and that'll let them kind of get worked into the soil over the winter, and then they'll sprout back. This is also a great thing to have by our chickens, which are behind me here, because they will come in, and if I want to give them any seeds, they love sunflower seeds, so they might come in and peck some up too. Last but not least, let's talk about tomatoes and beans. So tomatoes are a little bit different of a process because they are inside of the tomato and they're a wet seed, you're going to want to separate all of that tomato from the seed by soaking it for a day or two, shaking it up, and then rinsing them off and then letting them dry out. So some of my favorite seeds are the pineapple tomato, and I'll show you what those look like. This one is probably the biggest one I've grown this year. Look how big this is. It's like almost as big as my head. And I will take this and I will still eat this tomato, but we'll slice it up and we can save the seeds because I don't find these at a nursery around here because they're kind of a special variety. And if I need more, I always get them at My Gardener, which I can link them below too if you want to buy some of these seeds. But this is one of my favorites, so I try to seed save these and start these inside. And then some of my other ones, just like a regular cherry tomato, I won't seed start inside. I'll just buy the starts at like a nursery because I don't have a ton of room inside to start, especially last year I didn't. But this year, hopefully in the greenhouse, I'll have lots of time to seed start early. So there's this. So I planted some green beans, navy beans, and kidney beans this year. And I like to let them dry out on the plant if I'm going to seed save. So these ones are the navy beans, and I let them completely dry out. And on the inside, beautiful navy beans. And we could just let these cook like regular navy beans that you would buy from the store, and we can cook them up, or we can seed save them and grow them next year. So that's what these are. And you can do that for green beans, all of your bean plants, you can do that too. So let's now head inside and show you how I like to separate all of these and store all of these. All right, we are back inside. So let's start sorting out our seeds and labeling them and storing them. So first of all, I have my Cosmo seeds that are just in this bag. So easy peasy, I'm just going to go ahead and put them in a new seed envelope, which I have all of my saved seeds, well, most of them in here. And these ones are already super dry and crisp to the touch, so I'm going to put them right in the envelope. If they were a little bit damp, if you just got a rain or a frost and they're kind of damp, you're going to want to let them air dry a little bit before you try to store them. Alright, those are all in there. And again, the most important part, because we always think we're going to remember, but we never do, because next season you're going to be like, what the heck is in here? Make sure you label it. So I'm putting Cosmos, and I'm putting the year on here, just in case I come back to them, a few years down the road and I'm like, oh, these were from a few years ago. Let me try and germinate a couple before I just plant them all to make sure they're still going to produce some flowers for me and sprout. So I'm going to put 25 on here. And then on mine, they also have the ability to put like variety on here. So if you have a specific variety of the Cosmos that you want to put on here, you can, but I don't really fuss too much about the specific types. I just like what I like and will grow pretty much anything and everything. So Cosmos, there you have it, done, ready for next season. Next, we're going to save the harder ones for the end. So next, let's do our zinnias. Again, we have our head here, and we're just going to take these, pull it away, and you have all these beautiful seeds. Separate the seed from that dead petal. You can throw those away, you can compost them. And then I already have a little jar of zinnias started here, so I'm just going to throw them in with my other zinnias. Again, those ones were really dry, so I'm not going to worry about letting them sit out for a while first. And we're going to just keep on doing that with all the zinnias. I am going to maybe fill this jar this year, but then that's probably enough because that would be hundreds and hundreds of seeds. And I really don't need that many unless I want to share with some friends and family, maybe sell some in the farm stand. But I don't plan on doing that this year, so I'm not going to take any more than what I need personally. Now this one, as you can see on the top, still had some color in it. So it wasn't completely dried out. So you're gonna have some of these white seeds at the top showing. Those ones are seeds that aren't fully developed yet. So you're not gonna wanna put those in your jar. You only want these dark, deep, hard ones. Not that one. Like this one. That's dark. Let's see. That's dark, just like that. So I'm actually not going to harvest any of these on top. We're gonna go and do dahlias the exact same way. We're gonna kind of open up those petals, and in between each petal should be a seed. These ones are a little harder to pick through because they're in between each petal, not like in the center of a zinnia bud. But you can also do that like shaking method where you put it in your hand and kind of let the really light fluffy stuff fly away and keep the little seeds in the bottom here. Again, I'm only going to take a few of these this year because it's more of like a fun project and not something I actually need to do because I have lots of tubers. But again, pick your favorite varieties, or if you have friends that have some dahlias that you really want but they're not willing to give up some tubers to you, ask them if you can harvest some of their seeds, because these are not hard to come by when you have multiple flowers per plant and there's dozens and dozens of seeds in each flower. I also like to give these as gifts, especially like Christmas or birthdays, stuff like that. People who love to garden, love to try new seeds, get things like that. So think about that with Christmas coming up. If you could seed save now and give them for some gifts. I always love doing that. Also, this is something really fun for the kids to be a part of and easy for them to do, especially with like the zinnias, and I have them help me with like lavender a lot too. Is super easy. In the marigolds, oh my gosh, those would be even easier. You just have them kind of pull them apart and set them in a jar. Easy for them to do, fun for them to learn about kind of the life cycle of a plant. There we go. I just took a little handful this time around. And so I'm gonna put these in one of my envelopes too. Label it dahlia and the year, and put that with my other seeds. All right, let's move on to the little bit more tricky ones that are still easy, I promise. Here's the okra. Again, I showed you outside what the seeds look like. I'm just gonna take them and place them on a paper towel. So open these up. Scrape the seeds out, and then just let them dry out. I will say if you had a plant that didn't perform well this year, I wouldn't recommend taking seeds from that plant. I would try a different seed, try a different variety, because you don't want to take a gamble on doing all of this for them just to turn out like next year. So take the ones that did really well, that you really loved, and seed save those, and save the other ones that didn't do so well for doing new seeds or a new variety next year, or buying some starts from a nursery. So I have this, and I'm just gonna label on my paper towel. I'm gonna say okra. Above that. And then, oh, I had another half here. And just from this one pod, I'm getting dozens of seeds. So I only really needed to save one of these to get as many okra plants as I want next year, because I planted probably about 10 okra plants. Granted, I think probably only 6 of them made it and started producing, but that's really all I need. So this is going to be plenty with just 1 pot. Now for the peppers, you're gonna do the same thing. Open it up. I don't need any more pepper seeds. I think I have like 1, 2, 3 of these full of pepper seeds already. So I just wanted to show you can do this the exact same way. And then I have some bean seeds here that I already did and had already labeled, but they're all dried out. I even have some peas in here, and I put them together just because I know the difference between a bean and a pea, so I know what they are, but I will probably go ahead and label those down the road a little bit. So I have my okra here, and you can do this for, let's see, beans, okra. You could do cucumbers, you can do squash like this. Actually with squash, you're gonna wanna do it kind of like a tomato because the insides are full of kind of like guts and they're wet and they need to be like rinsed off first. So what we're gonna do with a tomato, we're gonna cut it open here, and I am going to still enjoy this tomato. And the thing about this one is these actually don't have that many seeds, which is actually something I love about the pineapple tomato. It's got a lot of meat on it and very little seeds. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to place those little seed sacks, is what they look like, into a jar. And honestly, that was the only seeds I got from that little bit. I only got like maybe 10. So do that with how many you think you're going to need for the next year. I'm going to make another cut so I can find more seeds. There we go. Here's some more. And you can see they have little like membranes on them almost. There's like a little sac around a tomato seed, which is why these are a little bit different. Because if we just let these sit, then they would kind of go rancid just in all of this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fill this with water and let it just sit for like a day. And then once that's done, I'm gonna strain it out, rinse them off, and then I'm going to dry them on here. So let's fill this with water. I grabbed the lid for this just so I can shake it up a little bit to try and separate the membrane from the seed. So I'm gonna kind of shake it up, kind of get them going, and then I'm just gonna let this sit, and then tomorrow I'll come back and I'll rinse them off, and then I will completely dry these out. Once you do that, you can store them just like your other tomato seeds and all of your other seeds, and you can plant them next year. That is about it. If there's any flower or plant or vegetable or whatever that I didn't mention in this video and you're not quite sure how you would save seeds from, let me know in the comments what that is, and I will do my best to explain that to you or even do a more in-depth video on that one. There's some things I didn't mention, like broccoli and lettuce and stuff like that. Those things you need to let them go to seed and flower, and then you can take those as well. That is pretty much the process. You just need to know if it's a dry seed that's ready to go, if it's a seed that needs to be dried out, or if it's a wet seed that needs to be soaked and rinsed first and then dried out. But the process for all of them is just find the seed, make sure it dries out, and then store for next year. I hope you enjoyed this video. Seed saving is one of my favorite things to do. It's so rewarding, and I hope you're inspired to try it out this year. And if you like this video and want to see more like this, make sure to follow our channel, the Homestead Fam, for more things just like this. Hit that little bell icon so you don't miss the next videos, and we will see you next week.